My name's Jerry. This is my 1979 Piper Tomahawk. I've owned this airplane since 2012. Have about flying it about 400, a little over 400 hours flying it. Most recently, I've done a complete IFR overhaul on it. It's been a great plane. I love it. A little history behind it for me personally. Bringing it, kind of resurrecting it from the dead. And bringing it to where it's at today. Love this plane. I've had this when I purchased it. Couldn't pass it up. It was such a great deal and cheap to fly. Doing the maintenance on it is airplane maintenance. It's expensive, but it's probably on the lower end of expensive compared to other aircraft. I got in aviation as a kid. I'll never forget. My cousin, aunt, they lived in Oxnard, which was Point Mugu Naval Air Station. So where they lived on a farm, a strawberry farm and a dairy farm. And back then, I just remember as a kid, just these low flying jets passing by. Well, as now I'm a pilot, I figured out it was the downwind base leg final into the airport to Point Mugu. So that's where my passion, I think, became reality, if you will. My parents taking me to air shows when I was a child. I remember going to Edwards Air Force Base, Point Mugu, going to El Toro back in the day when it was around, Miramar, just all over the place. And just one day I just said, you know what, I want to do it. And growing up, not being wealthy or anything like that, my dad would just say, one day, you work hard, you'll do it. And that's always stuck with me. And I got my private pilot license back in 2001, just 3 weeks before graduating college. So that probably 2001 was my biggest accomplishment of my life. First family member and my first person in my family to graduate college, and 3 weeks later get my private pilot's license. Right around 2001, I was working for a free clinic out in Venice Beach, and I knew I wanted some career in aviation. I didn't want to be flying for United or anything like that, although, hey, that would have been great. But I had this pursuing of whether it was law enforcement, fire, search and rescue, and so that was always in the background for me. In 2002, I had a great opportunity, and I got picked up for an agency, and I worked the road for about 8 years, and was from there in 2010 had probably the best part of my life was flying in a A-Star helicopter as a flight officer, working search and rescue for 11 years, and here I am, and then. When I was in the air unit, that's when I pursued my instrument and commercial ratings, and that's when I decided to buy the Piper Tomahawk. So I just got my instrument rating, and so of course I needed to build up the time to get my commercial rating. And so being that I was working at a airport, you kind of know the people around the airport, and this one gentleman, Frank, he had this Tomahawk, and he knew what I was doing, and I was just commenting how I needed to build up time, and so he said, hey, you know what, if I'll rent you the aircraft for 100 hours. So we agreed on a price, and he was gracious enough for me to basically have the airplane for 100 hours, and I got to fly it back and forth home. Here in French Valley, and had it for almost a year building up the time. And then kind of the planets aligned. He decided to sell the airplane, and he gave me a first crack at it, and gave me a great payment opportunity to 3 installments. And sure enough, I purchased the airplane, and I, without question, I bought it simply because who gets to test fly an airplane, let alone test drive a car for a year, and to see the ins and outs of understanding airplane ownership And I think the only two things ever went wrong while I had it was a vacuum pump and a P lead on the mag, and that was it. So I knew I had a very strong airplane. So lately, I'd say between 2016 to more recently, the plane actually sat. It sat on the ramp for a long time. It didn't fly. You know, I almost sold it. Almost sold it for pennies on the dollar because it just wasn't worth anything. And so about a year and a half ago, kind of put some money in my business, my lure business, and kind of got a little extra cash and just started to get it up to annual. Just wanted to kind of fly around the pattern. My son really was the driving force behind it. He's 11, and you know, urging me he wanted to go fly. So once we got it up to speed, you know, just started kind of flying a little here and there. After we did the avionics upgrade, all my days off that I can have the opportunity to take my son flying, take my girl up flying. We just went to Catalina 2 weeks ago. That was awesome. You know, I was a little hesitant flying this to Catalina because of the new runway being upslope and things like that. You know, it was a hot day. Density altitude, I think that day was 3,600 feet, popped up on my G5, and it took off. It was awesome. So lately, just having fun with it. And again, one of the reasons we did the upgrade was I want a tuna spot with this. So something here in Southern California, the sport fishing industry is big. So as a fishing lure guy, it gives me the opportunity to go out there, search for some big fish, and lets me get to my client base to say, hey, there's fish over here, give them GPS coordinates. And that's as a service to them, or being a customer of mine. That's why I opted for this and kept it. You know, I just posted more recently, I make this new lure, and this gentleman was flying down to Cabo for this big marlin tournament, and he pays out millions. And you know, last minute, hey, he's going down to Cabo. I was like, oh my God. And so, hey, I hopped in the plane, flew down to Thermal, and dropped off the lure for him. I also use this to deliver my lures to other customers. So I'll kind of look at my closest airport, and if I have a tackle shop nearby, I'll just fly down there. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Definitely, I get my, as a personal goal of mine, now that I have upgraded my avionics, that was a personal big goal of mine, get more instrument proficient. That was a big one. Being an IFR pilot, you know, that it's constantly doing it to be proficient. So you want to be safe, you want to do that when you're up flying. The next thing for me was my son being a big avid, you know, general aviation buff. He wants to learn how to fly, so I think a goal of mine is to become a CFI. So that's hopefully within the next year, become a CFI. You know, I see the young kids. I see my son, he was my age, wanted to fly. I see a lot of kids around coming to French Valley. You know, now that I have a hangar and I get to do this, you know, bring the kids here and show other kids, hey, you know, it can be done. You know, if you find the right people. You know, I've heard, you know, hey, go wash someone's plane and maybe he'll give you an hour flight, you know, flight time. Believe it or not, it exists. You know, we know as pilots, or just people who are really into something, you know, I'm willing, and other pilots are willing to offer their time to that person. And for me, I mean, it's not about money, but it's a passion. And so I do it my business. I have a passion for it. My business was a hobby that turned to, unbeknownst to me, as a business. And so thankfully that affords me to fly. And so my giving back is the tuna spotting for my customers, or, you know, for kids or whomever for that matter. So I like to spread the word, and I was turned on by my son who watches YouTube, and it just opened the door. It's really fantastic. The big driving force also was, you know, the new technology that's out there, advanced cockpit, you know, technologically advanced cockpit. You know, giving my son the opportunity, or my daughter if she chooses to fly, you know, what's GPS flying, the new style of flying. But I'm seeing some other aircraft down the road, looking into maybe building an RV-12 or more recently looking into the Sling TSI myself. So the idea of having a 4-seater is kind of a driving force. I was looking into a 182, but the operation of a 182 for my purposes is just a lot. That's why I just opted, we'll just do a 2-seater. But after seeing some of the numbers on the TSI, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. We'll see where that goes, a couple years down the road, but that's where I see it. But for now, keeping the plane, having fun with it, taking the kids flying, just having a good old blast with it. That's the plan.